About 24 hours ago, I got a post on my Reddit concerning a recent review from a Creative Assembly employee, a current employee, a software engineer in Horsham, England. This was posted on the 4th of June and came to my attention about 17 hours ago or so. And it says, as the main gist, completely incapable of putting out a good game at this point. Doesn't recommend, negative outlook, and doesn't approve of CEO. Pros, this is quite funny, low expectations, that's a pro. Easy to coast by if you don't really care about your job. Fear of confrontation means, and then it cuts off because it's like an abridged version of the whole review. Cons, it all started with far below industry average salaries. That is where this worker sees the cause of the current problems. As a result, all the competent people left too. Abridged. Yeah, so this is a screenshot taken by someone that I presume doesn't have an account on the website, which, to be fair, it's not easy to do. Even if you've had a job before, you still have to put in a lot of information to have an account. So that means that a lot of people are just not going to be able to do that. So I took a screenshot of the whole thing, and I'll get into more in a minute. Completely incapable of putting out a good game at this point. Fear of confrontation means you will rarely be called out on your mistakes. I'll leave up to you to decide how much these really are pros. Yeah, that's an important thing to put here. So the pros are not even really pros. And once again, this was the 4th of June, so this has been left recently, and these are current problems. Doesn't recommend the CEO, business outlook is shit. Doesn't recommend. And a current employee of more than 3 years. All the competent people left to work at companies that actually reward them appropriately. Today, this company is completely incapable of putting out a good game as a result. Today, it is a group of blind leading the blind. And yeah, I heard that a lot in my leaks, of course. And I want to say that the leaks have not stopped. They are continuing. And I've also heard that Creative Assembly have started issuing really airtight NDAs, and alongside that have been given pretty generous severance packages. That's just what I've heard. I've not been able to corroborate it properly yet, but I'm told reliably that that's what's going on. So they've recognised that the leaking is a problem. It caused damage, and it's going to continue to cause damage, and they're taking action to reduce the leaking incentive. Like, if people leave on good terms, they're less likely to feel like leaking. So that tells me that the leaking has worked. Even if they don't make good games ever, if the people that work at the company or that are leaving the company at least get better treatment or get better compensated for their work, then I think that's a success. I think the leakers have succeeded there. So that's what I've heard. I'll wait further confirmation. I'm just saying that provisionally right now. Yeah, so we know that this is true thanks to the leaks, which have been quite extensive, and there is a remarkable concordance. This is one of the main repeating points that I've heard. Blind leading the blind. And of course they got rid of the CPO, the Chief Product Officer, Rob Bartholomew, but I'm not aware of any other high positions that have been cut off alongside the many hundreds of people that have been laid off at the bottom. So yeah, blind leading the blind, and it seems like that has not been remedied whatsoever, really. The projects are in terrible shape, and the projects are in terrible shape, so these are upcoming games. We've heard that there are problems. We know about a few games. I know the names of unannounced games. The Total War stuff is a bit more murky, but I have information on that as well. And everything I've heard from every avenue indicates that things are not going well on any of them, really. There are even reports that I've started to hear be repeated of project directors that have left, throwing the projects into disarray, which is kind of a shame. Like, see, leaking stuff about unannounced games, it's kind of a little bit grey, because of course the games could be rated, they still have a chance, there's still time to go, but, well, if you look at something like Homeworld 3 and all the chances that game had, it seems a bit hopeless, but ostensibly a game that isn't even announced yet still has a shot. They can still right the ship, even if it's totally floundering. So it's just about whether they want to do that, and they should just be incentivized to do that by any leaking that happens. So this has to be handled properly for the sake of the people that are working on the projects as much as anything else. So it seems like they're not going to do that. If a project has problems, the way the company is being run right now, it seems like they're more likely to just cancel it than anything else, unless there's some sort of massive payoff anticipated. I think they're going to be really trigger happy with just cancelling ongoing projects, especially unannounced ones. That's what we're seeing all across the game industry right now. So yeah, so blind leading the blind, projects are in terrible shape, and nobody has any plans for how to get them back on track. Yeah, so it's like the projects are in limbo according to this. I should mention that these reviews here are kind of like a follow-up exit interview, and I have heard about the exit interviews at Creative Assembly. The phrase comes to mind. They were warned about this in every exit interview anyone ever gave at the company, referring to some problem. I think that like these phrases just stick in my mind once I hear them. A leaker said to me they were warned in every exit interview ever given. I'm quite sure I even reported that. So the company does have exit interviews. I have some idea of what those look like from leakers that have told me. And these are a bit like an exit interview on their own. These are just more meant for their colleagues on a professional website. So they all corroborate each other. This is like a more public exit interview. This is maybe even approaching something like a parting shot for some of these people. Nobody has any plans for how to get them back on track. Yeah. This is really contemporary as well, 4th of June. So it seems like the games that are currently in development are a shit show, which is not a surprise because they've just laid off massive swaths of the company, and that is still ongoing. We even have reason to believe from further Glassdoor reviews that the layoffs are continuing. I've even got numbers coming up somewhere in here. A glance numbers, we'll get into that. Even after the layoffs, it's still bloated with far too many people who either don't know how to or don't care about doing their jobs properly. As a result, not only does it lack the technical expertise to make good decisions, it lacks the cohesion to make any decisions at all, and it keeps vacillating between multiple bad options back and forth with nothing ever getting done. And then, and this is a really good last line, advice to management, and I think this is a section on the website. So this is one of the ways that Glassdoor maybe even improves conditions of these companies, a way for feedback to get through, because this is all public, and employers cannot delete or edit these reviews. So this is just like a public feedback wall from people that worked at the company. It's really good. I like Glassdoor for this. See those things that people do on Twitter where they post their salaries and all that stuff publicly? I really like that as well. Like, see, workers, they should be able to get together and get better conditions for themselves. Like, they should be able to compare their salaries. And there's a section on this website as well. Salaries section here. And then it shows an average of all of the positions and the salaries submitted. So people can submit their salaries. They can submit feedback, which is meant for the employer and for prospective workers, employees. And they can make better decisions, and they can even ostensibly get better conditions for themselves, because it makes it harder for employers to underpay people if they can just point to Glassdoor reviews of other people that have submitted salaries. I'd like to know what those conversations are like if they just write them off like, oh, that's lies, you know. Yeah, so yeah, advice to management. It's not imposter syndrome, you really are incompetent. And this is the main recurring theme that I've heard over and over and over again in all of the leaks. Every single person that leaked to me and that I got in touch with, all of the people that currently work at the company, all of the people that left the company a few months ago or years ago, they all say the management is shit. It's not imposter syndrome, you really are incompetent. Yeah, so like I said, this review made me go on to the actual recent reviews, and of course it's been about 6 or 8 or 9 months since all of the layoffs happened, so we now have a fresh batch of reviews to go through, which is really funny. Also, I should mention that the leaking hasn't stopped, the leaking has continued, and there's been a bit more of an emphasis on leaking with regards to DLCs for Warhammer 3. I have no reason to believe that any of the leaks that are coming out about the Warhammer DLC are false. I would be more inclined to believe them than otherwise, because simply there's little incentive for anyone to waste your time and lie, you know? People are much more incentivized at the moment to be honest about this stuff. I've not even had anyone try and waste my time lying to me or faking to me, so I have little reason to believe anyone else has had that experience. So if there's stuff coming out about leaks, then I'm inclined to believe all of it. It's just that I don't really give a shit about this Colin the Cum Guzzler DLC or Fred the Fartsniffer the third DLC. I just don't care about any of this. It's meaningless to me. But for the people that are actually into this, they can discern whether the announcement of Fluffy the Fartsniffer DLC is bad compared to Bob the Bob the Builder DLC. So they look at this and they see bad signs and they make inferences and they can tell if things are going off track or, well, compared to the norm, like if things are going downhill, if the train is derailing. Because of course these people have a fear that this DLC is just a cash grab, because what is coming to fruition currently is what I've been saying for years, which is that the Warhammer milking exercise, the DLC pipeline, is starting to dry up. Like the milk has been sucked out of that teat and it's running dry, so they're putting less and less effort into it, just hoping to get good margins on the tapering off before they move on to the next thing, like they did with Three Kingdoms, like they always do. So people are trying to they're trying to get ahead of this decision. They're trying to see it coming and head it off and just decide not to buy DLC. And of course Creative Assembly are in a bit of an arms race with them to try and not let on that this is going on. So they're trying to keep the hype up, make out things are nice and sunshine and rainbows and bunnies, and that things aren't going bad for as long as possible, so they keep buying the DLC gormlessly. So people are trying to spot that this is happening, or at least be vigilant about this, and they are noticing things. That's why, no, wait, let's, over here. Every single DLC comes with a cost associated with it that isn't just money or time, it's opportunity, and we've seen several opportunities slip us by at the expense of an incredibly popular character, and now that we're likely in the middle or even nearing the end, this is the fear of the product lifespan of Warhammer 3, we can no longer afford to just accept these opportunity costs. That is why there's so much outrage, that is why there's so much backlash. We're getting sub-factions and characters that are entirely new at the expense of sub-factions and characters that already existed and people have wanted for nearly a decade now. So the worry here is that they're skimping out, and people have done analysis of units and stuff. Like, see, like, they're comparing Fred the Fartsniffer to Bob the Builder, and they're deciding that they're getting, they're getting shortchanged, that's the term. So they are trying to be ready to cut their emotional investment into these DLCs at the first hint that things are just going downhill. So that is one thing that I think is good about this leaking. It incentivizes Creative Assembly to not just string people along. This is a good thing. See, if leakers are reporting to YouTubers that the DLC is drying up and we're spending less and less money on it and it's getting shittier and shittier, that is a good thing if YouTubers are reporting on that accurately and warning people about that. Because, see, I hate this DLC model, right? See what we've got right now? It's a bit like in the 90s if you were making a ship model and you didn't even know what the final ship was going to look like, but you had been buying the subscription every month for like 30 quid and you'd already spent like £300 on buying pieces of this ship or this Spitfire or something, and you don't even know what the final thing is going to look like. And then as you get nearer and nearer completing the ship, you start to notice that the pieces are getting tackier and tackier, the plastic quality is going down, the detail on the paint on it is going down, and that your final ship, your final battleship, your Bismarck or whatever, HMS Elizabeth or whatever it is going to just look like shit once it's finished. It's going to be a disappointment. You've already spent hundreds of pounds on it, so you have to make a decision. Am I going to actually keep paying for this crap to finish it? Or am I going to just cut my losses and not spend any more money on it? And that's what this is like. You don't even know what you're signing up for. People have bought into this games as a service consumer model where they're just going to buy every DLC. And of course, Creative Assembly know that demographic exists. It's such an unhealthy relationship, it really is. I hate it. I would not buy this DLC even if it was good, and I'm not convinced it's good, ever. So, this is what's going on right now. People are trying to judge if this is going downhill. The leaking has not finished. The leaking is continuing. I'm even still talking to leakers. They're working on a lot of projects currently, Creative Assembly, so there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and a lot of it is bad. And seeing the leaking continue is good, even for these people that are trying to decide whether they're going to keep buying this fucking DLC. Look, 3,000 upvotes on this, and it's an alarm bell post on the shithole sub, the official subreddit. People are becoming aware that the DLC pipeline hypothesis model has been correct this entire time. Yeah, so that's a bit of a detour. What was I talking about there? Yeah, so things are going badly there. Leakers are continuing to drip feed information about how bad things are. Even the bad stuff extends to Warhammer 3, which is still getting DLC right now. And of course that's what triggered all of the shit show mid or late last year. They announced that they were going to be raising the cost of the DLC. Absurdly. Totally absurd. Already marking up something that's ridiculously marked up. So, yeah. The DLC is going to get worse again. Oh yeah, by the way, the price point stuck around. They've tried to hide it by dividing up the DLC into pieces, but you're still fundamentally paying the same amount for the same lack of good gameplay. Like, you're still getting the same terrible bang for buck with this DLC. Yeah. Alright, let's continue with the reviews. So, 182 reviews. A big chunk of these have come in over the past 6 months. We can sort by recent. This was the most recent one that I read. That was 4th of June. Then there's an 18th of May. Great opportunity to learn, amazing environment. Teams can sometimes be siloed off. So that reminds me of the cliquey thing. Recommend CEO approval, business outlook. So this is a positive one, a 4-star, but then we get a 2 stars. 10th of May, a few days before this one, a week before that one. Don't recommend, don't approve of the CEO. Business outlook is bad. Former employee, more than 3 years, a designer. Fun games with a strong pedigree made by caring developers. Yeah, a lot of them do care. That's the tragedy of this. That's why they're leaking, because they actually do care. The people on the ground floor, in the trenches, they reliably care. All the people I've talked to care. Even the ones that are like, fuck CA, burn it all down, there's no hope. They say that because they went from being really invested and really caring to being totally dismayed and thinking it's hopeless, and that the best thing that can happen is that some other company comes along and takes up the mantle. So they all care. It's unheard of that someone comes out of this company, comes to me, and just doesn't give a shit. Everything I've seen indicates that these people really care. Never had to work overtime. Others did, increasingly. That's a pro. Hybrid work was allowed for a while, meaning you could enjoy life in Brighton or London. Some skilled individuals still there, able to help you grow. Some skilled people still there. Cons. A steady return to office work, 1 day a week, then 2 in some teams, and for a brief period of 6 months it was going to be 4 days a week. Means you would indeed be needing to move to the retirement village of Horsham, unless you can stomach the 1 hour 30 journey from Brighton to London. There's no legal protection or contract from working arrangements changing. It simply depends on who happens to be holding the fascists for this month. You're told that your lead can make the decision on your remote working days, but in fact their lead can override and the team's lead all the way up to Gareth. It's an entirely arbitrary system where CA might demand you give all your free time to commuting at any moment. Salary is bad for Britain's most expensive region outside of London. Horsham is awful unless you're settled and have a family or enjoy the quiet. And I heard this a lot. I talked a bit about the culture of the city and how it seems like Horsham is basically a Creative Assembly village with a few other companies that are there. Like they keep businesses running. Like there's a board game store there that's basically kept in business by Creative Assembly. I heard that. I heard they would have a a bus that would fill up with Creative Assembly employees when they would go to the cinema, stuff like that. So it's like a really big game company, the biggest one in Britain, one of the biggest in the UK, or it was while all this was happening. But it's in a little retirement village. Or enjoy the quiet. Management are failing the studio. 2 rounds of redundancies and endless project cancellations. Sega are picking the studio clean and leadership is powerless to stop them. Not enough programmers hired to actually make games. Yeah, tech debt, this is what I've been talking about as well. They even have teams that are designed for fixing the tech debt problem and developing tools, but they just can't do it. They just get put onto last minute support. Instead, designers and artists just sit in a room and pitch ideas for, and I do not exaggerate, years with almost no code support. Management no longer gives a damn about historic games. Oh, wow. So if that's your interest, then expect the worst. And didn't I leak in a video, no Medieval 3, no Empire 2 coming until 2040? Didn't I leak that in a video and explain exactly what was going on there and show screenshots? Did I show screenshots of that conversation? Well, I definitely quoted the exact statements, and it was clear as day, and it was from one of my most reliable leakers that's given me the most substantive and impactful stuff, so this Empire 2 Medieval 3 crap has to stop. It's getting a bit stupid. Like, this was in 10th of May 2024. Management no longer gives a damn about historic games, so if that's your interest, then expect the worst. I told you, didn't I? Didn't the leakers? Well, I say I told you, the leakers already told you. Individuals getting management jobs when they absolutely shouldn't. Likely because CA cannot attract talent because of its ridiculous location and wages. Yeah, so they underpay people. That's something that has been complained about for years at this point. Even Darren Total War, or no wait, what's his name? Yeah, that guy, the YouTuber that went to work there and got a job there and left, he complained about the shit salaries a lot. There's other places I've read about the shit salaries. Poverty wages. One of the leakers told me last year that people that are there doing QA positions or internships, they live on pot noodles like they're still at university, something like that. So they really do underpay people. Heard that over and over again. Either pay better or allow remote work indefinitely. You cannot have your cake and eat it. Horsham is not Guildford. People like your games, but not enough to give up their lives and move to a sleepy town in Sussex for half the typical southern wages. Formalise the working arrangements and contracts. You cannot constantly be changing the hybrid rules on different projects, between which people are always moving. It's not a steady working arrangement. Hire and retain programmers. All the designers in the world won't write your games. Pay them more. Programmers are in high demand. Give Sega a slap. They're devouring this studio for no apparent reason but a change in leadership. But are they even changing the leadership? The chief product officer's gone, but is anyone else gone? It doesn't seem like it. Do they want to make games with us or not? If they don't, I hope you can find a new publisher. Yeah, I don't know how they're buying themselves out. Stop putting people who don't know the game's in charge. Idiotic decisions, one after the next. Keep sinking your products. This is a really important line as well. Out of touch leadership. People there that don't even play the games. Heard that over and over again. People that come to me because they care. They care because they played the games when they were kids. They care. They're annoyed at the people above them that don't care, that don't know shit about the games. You even saw it in that stupid fucking damage control post that guy posted. What was his name? Rich something? This is a twat that obviously has never even played a Total War game in his life. Like, I could beat him with one hand tied behind my back in any fucking multiplayer experience in Total War, even a Total War game I've never played before. Why the fuck are these people lying and pretending they give a shit about Total War? They cannot... How many hours have they got in Total War? It's just ridiculous. It's so obvious that these people at the top of the company do not fucking play the games, do not give a shit about the games. I doubt they ever even did when they were kids. You know, it's just... Fuck this. Game companies where people are in charge that don't even know anything about games. Sick of it. Idiotic decisions, one after the next. Keep sinking your products. Yep, the games are shit, and they're getting worse. That's what this means. Because the people that are in charge don't know shit about them. Make shit decisions. And this, yeah, Don't recommend, don't like the CEO, outlook is shit. 5 stars, love the offices, great work culture, very large, so difficult to know everyone. The positive reviews don't really say much, that's not a good sign. It's like they've been asked to leave these if they just do it like this. It's like, why are you going to leave a review if you're not even going to do anything? And then we have the 1-star reviews that actually explain things. Don't recommend, don't like the CEO, business outlook is shit, former employee more than 10 years, May 2024. There was a burst of reviews, so this makes me think that they laid a lot of people off around April or May. Look, April 30th, May the 7th, May the 10th, May the 10th. Yeah. More than 10 years. Company benefits and the salary were the pros, however the salary was so overpaid that it makes it difficult to find another job in the same sector. A bit weird here, this contradicts some of the other ones. CA used to be an incredible company to work for, however over the past 6 years, since 2018, it's been run into the ground by terrible leadership. The recent redundancies have really proven this, as the workforce has been cut and yet not one member of the senior leadership team has been put at risk. Chief Product Officer is gone, at least. Does that not count? Maybe they mean the CEO, some of the other 2 or 3 or 4 people under him. I don't know. I'm not sure about what this means, because the CPO is gone. The salaries these people are on is absolutely shocking, and they've shown zero remorse to any of the staff. Especially Gareth, who enjoys rocking up in his custom Porsche. Oh man. Yeah, I've heard a few anecdotes about sports cars. Like, it's funny, you've got people working in QA and intern positions living on pot noodles, and then you've got people with Porsches while the games are shit. Could there be any bigger of a red flag for a company that's fucking dying and is gonna just put out shit from now on than that? Is there anything less healthy than that? This is just a money-making machine that serves capital interests. That's all you can conclude from this. Like, your money from Warhammer DLC goes towards people buying Porsches. Let's not also forget... Oh yeah, and I was going to say, one of the anecdotes I heard was, I don't know what was going on here, but someone claimed to have worked for CA and started posting on the Reddit, which is of course company controlled, and an absolute shithole of bootlickers and shills. Like, it's a totally... it just serves the interest of the company. It's there for damage control, and if anything happens, people that work for CA just whisper in the DMs of moderators and they fix the problem. So a thread appeared, and in one of the comments on the thread, this person that was supposedly a leaker, a leaker, said that the way people talk about Rob, it's almost like they think he fuels his sports car with the blood of fans. And then I heard from someone else, it's funny because he actually does own a sports car. So it's just like, oh, it's funny how that worked out. Let's not also forget how he's also close friends with the new HR director from CA North. She has 0 HR experience, and yet is paid double what the previous one was on, who has all the experience. Wow. I wonder what happened with CA North. It's not even listed here in locations. There's a location section here. 2 locations. Sofia, Bulgaria, Horsham, UK. So it's not even here. It's interesting that Sofia has 4 stars, Horsham has 3 stars. Let's see if I can get back to where I was. Yeah, so I don't know what happened with this CA North place, really, at the moment. I've not heard much about that. So she has 0 HR experience and is paid double what the previous one was. Who has all the experience? No one ever really understood the point in that studio either, and yet they are still going. This is weird. The whole process has brought so much to light and really opened people's eyes to the shocking truth of what's been going on over the last few years. Avoid like the plague. They don't deserve your skills and talent. Doesn't this seem like some sort of a money black hole or a money laundering operation or something? It's weird. So, someone who's friends with the CEO moves into CA North, has no HR experience, gets paid double what they should be getting paid, and no one knows what the studio was for, according to this. Former employee more than 10 years. 7th of May. Yeah, it's so weird. Something going on there. How can people be working there for like, I don't know what's, like, see this former employee more than 10 years? Was that like before 2022, 2023, or is that someone that just recently left? I'm assuming they just recently left and that they don't know what that studio's for. So that's what I've got to assume, and that is just a really weird situation, and it's got 6 people that have given this helpful, so this is going to be people that have an account on here and check this. So this is going to be employees, former employees. So it seems like people really agree with this. It's really strange. Useless management. At this time, and don't recommend, don't like the CEO, don't like the business outlook, former employee more than 8 years. See, these are long-serving employees, 1 star. Oh, and this opens up. Compensation and benefits is good. Senior management, 1 star. Culture and values, 1 star. At this current time, there are no pros to working for this company. 6 years ago, my opinion may have been different, but the only pro is the free food. The company's been run into the ground by managers who just don't know what they are doing. None of them have successfully run companies before, holy shit. In fact, the studio director has already run 1 or 2 game companies prior, and to dust prior. The workforce has been reduced from around 700 originally to 280 come June 2024, following a second massive round of redundancies. My god. So, this fits with what I've heard about the airtight NDAs and improved severance packages to keep them quiet. So they're making NDAs that are airtight to keep them quiet. So that's the stick. And they are giving them really good severance, and that's the carrot. And 280 from 700, that's a downsizing of more than... Well, that's a downsizing as a euphemism, isn't it? That's a devastation of more than 60-70%. Something like that. 60%. And remember, the number that I was given was 42% or 40%. Yeah, 42%. So, I remember given the number 42%, and some of my leakers were saying, that's just the people that have been marked for redundancy, they might find places for them. And of course I would caveat with that later on, but if we're going from 700 to 280, then it's not just 42%, it's more like 60 or 70%. Man. Guess who's not impacted at all? The senior leadership team. Yeah, we're hearing this again. This is echoing what we saw further up. One of whom is on north of 200k and is mates with the boss. Man, this is more possible nepotism. That's what this could have been here. Nepotism. This is what these people are saying. I'm just reading between the lines. It seems like they're implicating nepotism here, or corruption. They have no qualifications or experience in the industry. Absolutely, yeah. This seems like nepotism, corruption. And don't seem to be performing any job role. Holy shit. It's a boys' club. They couldn't manage their way out of a paper bag. Proven by the devastating layoffs 2023 and upcoming in 2024. They overpay, meaning finding a job outside of their near on impossible avoid. Wow. So they just can't seem to get the salaries right. Sega need to cut management right back, even get rid of all senior management, and hire someone who knows what they're doing. Oh, and perhaps don't drive into work showing off your brand new custom Porsche. Yeah, they really are that bad. 6 helpful again. Good people, poor management. Yeah, this is what I've heard over and over again. More than 1 year, don't recommend, don't like the CEO, business outlook is bad, and we're still only at 20th of April. So they're still coming thick. This was only a couple of months ago. Great people doing the hard work of making the products. Out of touch management and HR that protects them, not workers. Yeah, exactly. This company is just fucked. This is what it always seemed like to me. You saw that with the Badge Singh stuff, where there were people on Twitter saying that they protected the Predator at the expense of the people under him, and the people under him even got moved into his team after they complained about him, and he got promoted as well. So it's like they don't value and protect their workers. And of course I've heard from people that have had horrible experiences with the HR department where they've been complaining about stuff and things have not been dealt with or things have dragged on. Out of touch management and HR that protects them, not workers. Poor pay. Horsham is both expensive and boring. inflexible working conditions. HR acts like Gestapo for management. And I was even saying that I think I've made that Gestapo comparison before. Although I said Gestapo for how they were treating their shills in the shill program, I think. I think that's the context I was talking about Gestapo. Yeah. Because the things I've heard about how the shill handlers operate. By the way, that shill program is back up and running. They cancelled it, deleted the Discord channels. All the roles are gone, and then they are remaking it, and I think they're currently in the process of rebooting the whole thing. So that was obviously an excuse to remove people without having to send out an announcement of, we are removing you because you turned against us when everyone was saying the DLC was shit. You didn't back us up, so we are removing you now. We don't want to have anything to do with you. This is how they avoid doing that en masse. So I suspect that they're going to just let in a few of the most supine shills that they can definitely control and that are reliable. I've talked about this before as well. Like all the absolute best bootlickers, all the ones that are just brown nosing CA through thick and thin, they'll probably get expedited. They'll probably get a front row seat for this new iteration of the shill program. And more so than ever before, being in the shill program will be a symbol of disgrace and spinelessness. So it's a good thing, it's progress. I saw racism and sexism and general schoolboy antics by team leaders. Remove the management team and replace it with professionals. Wow, 11 helpful marks on this. 1 star on this. 1 star for everything. Current employee more than 1 year. Don't recommend, don't like the CEO, don't like the business outlook. Working on cool titles, which is a great addition to a portfolio. Cons. Toxic environment, redundancies, low non-competitive salaries. Yeah. Really bad decision making and production. Some people do nothing and are obtaining head rolls by mistake. Just accidentally falling upwards, just tumbling up the stairs. Turn on logic. 3 words, just turn logic on. 1 star. Worst video game company I've ever worked for. Don't recommend, don't like the CEO. Business outlook is... What does this mean? Negative? Bad? Yeah. Poor business outlook. Honestly, I don't have much to say. When I joined the company, there were some pros, such as good work-life balance, nice snacks in the office, cool projects, and regular team-building encounters. However, none of these things have been happening for almost a year now. If you're an artist, avoid this place. You won't receive constructive feedback, hindering your growth as an artist. There are no senior or principal artists to learn from. Well, didn't one of them get run out the company because they were predating on people underneath them? Old technology, yeah, I've heard that as well. They don't update their tools, so the workflow is really bottlenecked and sluggish. Yeah, bad tools, tech debt, no bonuses or raises. Horsham is quite expensive, especially for young people. Going to the office is mandatory on some days per week, so living nearby is advisable to save on commuting costs. They don't appreciate your skills. Management is problematic. They retain individuals responsible for the poor decisions that have led CA to its current state. Yeah, seeing this over and over again. There are individuals in lead positions with no prior experience. Advice to management. Instead of laying off the workers who keep things going, it would be more prudent to consider downsizing individuals in higher positions. Yeah, because if you've got a guy on 200k that just drives a Porsche around and just sits there doing nothing, you could have another 3 or 4 programmers that actually make games and make good games, but that doesn't seem to be the priority when you can just spam DLC and milk people using your marketing department, which has been the plan for the past decade now. Some good things, some bad things. Lead gameplay programmer. Important position. Current employee more than 5 years. Most people are nice and chill, and there are good communities for sports and games. You get to work on nice IPs. The benefits are okay, especially Bupa dental and pension up to 6%. CA tries to care for the welfare of their employees. Career progression is somewhat clear, at least for programmers. Cons. At the moment, CA is suffering a financial and identity crisis due to years of bad decisions from management. Nowadays, many studio updates talk about change without anything concrete being proposed, while every few months new layoffs are announced. Yeah, this is what they do. They just see when a company's deciding to do this kind of cutting, they just do it in chunks. They cut off a massive chunk of the company, let things shift and the bricks settle into new positions, and then they still have to reduce costs, so they just lay off even more, and they just keep doing that until they reach a equilibrium position. It was never going to just be one round of layoffs, it was going to keep going and keep going. There are some toxic people and some people who are terrible at their job, but they're just there because nobody kicked them out back in the days, and now it's like 10 years that they're there and have fossilised into CA. Fossilised! Holy shit, that is the word. My god. Yeah, I've heard a lot of weird stuff about this, and I've reported on a lot of it as well. Sega being a Japanese company, we have to follow Japanese market rules. This means every time management starts working on layoffs, they can't tell us until it's announced to the Japanese market. This will never change until rules in Japan change or Sega sells CA to another company, but every time we get the heartbreaking email of apologies from various CEOs, which to be honest, add insult to injury. Salaries or Horsham salaries. Advice to management. If a project doesn't work, don't try to make it work. Fail as early as possible. Listen to your people, especially anonymously. There are people who are intimidated by you, so they don't just walk up and talk to you, but have precious feedback to give. Stick to what the company's known for and don't try crazy expansion even when the market gives the illusion that it's possible. Pandemic, baby steps. Yeah, of course. The whole industry's experiencing the recession from that at the moment. The pullback. 4 upvotes. Now we're getting into March almost. Lots of undelivered promises and poor management. So it's just a recurring theme. It was even in the leaks over and over again. Management is shit, out of touch management. The workers don't get listened to. They tell the management what they have to do and they explain what the problems are and nothing gets done. It's just the same here. Like basically all the important stuff that the leakers said here, it's just turning up again. Worst management ever experienced. A global inertia you never met before. Stop apologising after the fact and own responsibilities. These days there's more some of you will be fired, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Please listen to the dev floor. They're raising issues way before it explodes. Exactly, they just don't do that. The management at the company is very, very clearly shit, and it hasn't been addressed yet, even after all the layoffs. Free Sega games are nice to have. Now we're getting into March. I think a big wave of layoffs happened around March, April, May, which fits with what I've picked up. Advice to management. Bosses love to micromanage you and often get threats of pips or bad performance reviews. How about stopping that and nurturing people and guiding them to improve instead of just going for the nuke option? Bullying by managers. Yeah, I heard about that as well. Slightly toxic environment, i.e. favoritism. I heard a lot about this, especially from a few people that had to deal with it. They described, nepotism, racism, sexism, favoritism. Basically all of the isms, I think, I heard at one point or another. And also cliques that have formed at the company. In groups, out groups. People being played against each other when they should really be working together to improve the shit conditions here. Like the people at the top of the company are massively outnumbered by the people that actually make the games, and of course the people that make the games, the company cannot dispense with those. Like a company can keep making games if the whole management team is gone. It just might have problems with management if it has no management. But the people actually making the games are the ones making the games. They should be able to get things done. Like, if you just got rid of all the management and then let the people working decide who the new management would be, everything would be better overnight, wouldn't it? Surely. That would be the case in most cases. Because I just keep hearing this. Like, it's getting really tedious to just see it over and over again. Like, shit CEO approval, shit business outlook, shit management, recent management decisions have been terrible. It's just all over the place. Look, even the ones that have 5 stars, do they even give a tick? Like, recommend? They haven't recommended or given CE approval or business outlook. Use some antiquated software. Not using Slack or equivalent, instead relying on MS Teams for chat. Yeah, I've seen that in my analytics. I haven't said this yet, but I could tell whenever Sega or CA were watching my videos, because I would just see all of these analytic sources showing Microsoft Teams. Oh my god. And also I should say that, not that many people would, that aren't just bad faith, but if anyone's going to complain in the comments about going through Glassdoor reviews for a company, I think that's fair game after Sega lawyers have been caught creeping around and lurching in the corner and lurching in the shadows on LinkedIn, going after private citizens, you know, that happen to have a YouTube channel and talk about games. I think it's fair game. Just saying. I don't think I'm doing anything that hasn't got precedent here. In fact, I think this is relatively banal considering the kind of shit that happens around this whole scene. Fucking lawyers sitting on LinkedIn, looking people up. Fucking weirdos. In a state of decline. Yeah. Like, we've basically seen everything now. It's all repeating. And this is the problem. This was 20th of August 2023. And people are still saying the same stuff in May and June. Cliquey and ineffective management. This was before the shit show exploded. These people were warning publicly on Glassdoor, 20th of July 2023. Before any of the shit shows, all of the consumers were happily buying the DLCs back at this point. They haven't done anything about this. Good place to work, but management is incompetent. Management is incompetent, wasting valuable time and effort. Not worth the hype about themselves. Every studio claims to be the best place to work. 10 upvotes. Listen to people when they're saying improve your employee feedback process. No one cares about the shout out if salary is not good enough. Yeah. Implement two-way feedback system like other game studios. If your manager can provide feedback to team, make sure team can also provide feedback to manager. As far as I know, all this is a waste of time if, as this review, won't do anything. Well, hopefully me reading it right now and putting it on YouTube will make it feel a bit more worthwhile, but yeah, it seems like it didn't up until now. 8th of June 2023, here we are, almost exactly a year later, and nothing's been done about this, so yeah, thought it was interesting, especially that the recent burst in that first review. Company's a shit show, man. They're making a lot of games. They might even be cancelling a lot of games. They might even force through some games during a shit show development hell and get them out and they're a pile of shit. Things are just a mess there at this company at the moment. Even the recent Glassdoor reviews say it publicly. Everything I've heard indicates that things are going badly. I even know things that haven't been leaked yet about these upcoming games, like really big things, but I'm not sure what to do with it sometimes, you know. It's hard sometimes to know, like, what the collective will of the leakers actually is, unless they make it really clear. So I'm just watching at the moment, and also, of course, paying attention to the other leaking that's going on about all this DLC. This is not as interesting as it is for some other people, but it's still interesting to me. And hopefully this was for you. We'll see how things progress. I'm not holding my breath. Once again, I do not anticipate a Medieval 3 or an Empire 2, despite what anyone else says. Not anytime soon anyway. Not within the next 6 years or the next... I would even doubt within the next 16 years. I think the company will die before anything like that, because if they can't make Warhammer 3 DLC work, if they can't make a Warhammer 40k that isn't a pile of shit, and it looks like they can't, if they can't make a Star Wars game that isn't a pile of shit, and it looks like they can't, if they can't make money out of all of these IP cash grabs, which is what I predicted would happen years ago when I described fanbase substitution and IP milking and DLC pipelining of games, if they can't be commercially viable when they're taking all of these low roads, then how the fuck are they supposed to make a Holy Roman Empire DLC that is good enough for anyone to want to buy for a Medieval 3? How are they supposed to make an Apache DLC? Like, how many Apache DLCs are we going to have for Empire 2? How many DLCs are we going to have? Who's going to buy them? You know, it's not... They can't make this work. They're already choosing cheaper options here to just keep the DLC pipeline running and a trickle of milk coming out, and then they're going to just shut up shop. That's what people are predicting here. That's what the reading between the lines suggests. So if they're already struggling this hard, when they're taking this much of a low, easy road, how are they supposed to make an actually good game that people want? I just don't see it. And it seems like the Warhammer fanboys are coming to the same conclusion the rest of us came to 5 years ago, 10 years ago. See you next time. Thanks to all my patrons for the ongoing support, as always. It keeps me here and doing what I'm doing. I give out perks to my patrons, which includes monthly update posts saying what I've got planned and what I'm thinking about. Special thanks to Matteo Olivetti, Nathan Black and Bador Nasser.